Hello, I am Claudia Estrada, member of Alpha Chapter, Guatemala State. Currently, we are a 15-member state. We used to have about 40 members or more, and during one of the bienniums that I served as a state president, when dues were increased, we lost one of our chapters. Unfortunately, most of that chapter members were retired and getting sick. They couldn't afford to pay. It was devastating for our state executive board when we received the resignation letter. But as a leader, I had to inspire and continue. So I proposed to restructure and keep going. We have been contacting those members that are still alive and trying to include them in our activities whenever we organize them on a venue close enough to where they live. How we have done it, I'm going to share with you some ideas that I hope are useful. First thing first, as any other organization, there are some main principles we need to follow. And one of the things I did immediately was reach out to the Latin American representative, Southwest Director, and I think they also put me in contact with Membership Services Director at the time. I had questions about what do we do? This was my face when I had to deal with that situation. In first place, I was led to review Constitution and ISR. So there you will find that there are 8 constitutional mandates. Number 1, members are elected to membership based on particular qualifications. Number 2, members complete financial responsibilities. Number 3, chapters must have rules that are consistent with the Constitution and its state organization bylaws. Number 4, chapters must elect and appoint particular officers who must be members. Chapter officers are elected in even-numbered years. Oh my! Chapters must have an executive board with defined duties that meets at least twice a year. This was number 5. Number 6, chapters adhere to the purposes and mission statement. They are responsible for society duties and may create committees to complete that work. Committees. Number 7, chapters must submit annual and biennial reports. And number 8, chapters must have at least 4 regular meetings per year. Okay. At that time, we lost other members as well because of different situations, but one that affected was the dues increased by double. So many questions came to my mind and the executive board as well. So I kept asking more specific questions. Some of the questions that I asked myself were, do we need all the leadership positions? At the state organization level, what about the chapter level? Do we need to meet every month as we were doing at that time? Can we have our own rules or do we follow strictly society rules? What about committees? I didn't know exactly what to do with committees and I was so worried about that issue. We began with a series of actions that we were going to be helpful. Determine the absolute necessary committees according to chapter and state needs was one of the first thoughts. Constitution and ISR says state organizations and chapters may fulfill their constitutional responsibilities by establishing committees as needed. Provide leadership training for everyone. This is a topic that can be useful to everyone. We connected it with the strategic planning. We are still missing the piece about writing a formal strategic plan. But at that time, what we were doing was providing leadership training, and at the same time, we were discussing our strategic planning. We usually establish a liaison person for the international committees, so this member is the one in charge of transferring information to and from international, and then we work on mini committees or task forces. Constitution Committee is not one of the ones that are the needed committees, but 3 members volunteer to review the state rules and comply with the checklist given by international. Processes take longer when members involved are not fully bilingual, which is our case. So that is how we were working on the committee structure. Regarding the dues collection, we plan to fulfill dues deadlines, but this is still a work in progress. We have been trying different strategies. The last year implementation of disabling access to the site when payment was not sent on the due date forced us to evaluate the way we were doing things in this matter. For us, the US fiscal year is so different, so we were sending payment when a member was going to the United States, usually in December. We managed to send payment at the beginning of September, as of last year. Training was provided to the state and chapter treasurers on how to work out all the dues processes. We are now enforcing payment of dues in installments beginning January, and the last month should be June 2020. So we can complete the process with chapter treasurers in July of 2020 and send payment to international in August. Of course, due to the current situation, this might be different. All members were given responsibility to invite others to meetings so we can increase membership. Membership is a committee we identified since the beginning as a crucial one, taking the responsibilities of communication, educational excellence, in charge of training, professional and personal development. Leadership at the chapter level is very important to maintain even if you restructure and have meetings with another chapter as we have gone. Chapter presidents often share responsibilities, but at the same time keep autonomy within their chapters. They plan together the programs and take turns to lead the meetings. Usually, state organization president or vice president has been in charge of training chapter presidents. The previous state organization president trains the upcoming state organization president. You can find more information on the chapter guidelines on the DKG website. Once you log in, go to resources under chapter tools. The members of the chapter executive board are the elected officers of the chapter, the president, the vice president, the secretary, and other voting members as determined by the chapter. Treasurer is not elected. According to the Constitution, the duties of the chapter executive board include the following: select the treasurer for the biennium, act in matters requiring immediate action and decision, recommend policies and procedures for consideration by members, and establish rules for budget development and approval. Best association practices also encourage the executive board to establish rules for the supervision of chapter finances. Under the same document mentioned before, there is a page that talks about the executive board responsibilities. For us, it has been hard to have a chapter executive board. Usually, the chapter president and the treasurer have been the most active roles at the chapter level, which has only 8 or 9 members. We have a more operating executive board at the state level. Meetings are held 5 or 6 times in the year that usually include finances and program planning, policies and procedures, calendar and membership issues. Chapter follow the same state organization rules. Also, we have worked on re-election for chapter presidents and treasurers have been on the position for a long period. Lately, we also have implemented the support of another member to the treasurer, so there are others trained, and that has worked very well. Chapter presidents also participate in training the future chapter president and prepare materials for succession. You can find more information on the chapter guidelines on the DKG website. Remember that once you log in, go to Resources under Chapter Tools. Chapter structure includes how the chapter is organized. Example of organization includes meeting times and days, number of business meetings held, number of social events held, how dues are collected and when, and what standing committees are designated. Most of these are decisions the members of the chapters decide for themselves and set down in chapter rules. It is mandatory to have at least 4 meetings per year. We have about 6 meetings during the year. Chapter presidents take turns to lead the meetings or plan together and conduct together. Invitations are sent by a state organization secretary. We have surveyed members to find the best time, place, and days to meet. We have even been able to meet now during COVID in an electronic way. We don't follow a formal procedure for business, but usually have an agenda sent ahead of time and approve the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. Notes are taken on the business of the meeting. We do follow the procedures for voting and other parliamentary procedures. You can find more information on the chapter guidelines on the DKG website. Once you log in, go to Resources under Chapter Tools. I'm going to keep reminding you of this resource because this is a great resource that I keep going back to. State president usually communicates or reminds of communications received from international at the executive board meetings. She's the one in charge to communicate also to international, regional director, and Latin American representative. Among our members, the best way to communicate has been the WhatsApp, unless indicated that information has been sent via email. A state organization has a Facebook page where information regarding major events is published. Newsletter hasn't worked that well in our chapters due to the fact that WhatsApp keeps the communication more fluent. Facebook replaced the newsletter. You can remember that you can find more information on the chapter guidelines on the DKG website. Once you log in, go to Resources under Chapter Tools. Among other important aspects of chapter life, chapters shall establish the structure and/or designate the persons responsible for the accomplishment of the work of these committees. Chapters may combine the functions of related committees. Refer to the International Constitution, Article 8, for information regarding the duties of these committees. There might be special task committees that once they finish the task assigned, those committees dissolve. Chapters are encouraged to promote international scholarship opportunities, connect with World Fellowship recipients, and endorse the international partners and affiliates promoted by the International Non-Dues Revenue Committee. Chapter standing committees may be established by chapter written rules. If chapter standing committees are not established, an alternate plan for carrying out the responsibilities and functions must be developed. In our case, we established joint committees at the state organization level, and those are membership, educational excellence, communications. When we hosted the Latin American conference, we established special tasks committees, and those might function again when we organize the state organization convention. Members agree and work better in those committees. Usually, there will be 2 or 3 people in each of the committees, and state organization president, vice president, and secretary are part of several committees at the same time. You can find more information on the chapter guidelines on the DKG website. Chapters should promote international and local member benefits such as scholarships, grants, project awards, member awards, and accessibility to resources and partner discounts. The finances is other important aspect of chapter life. The chapter executive board shall establish rules for budget development and approval and for the supervision of chapter finances. Chapters should assign responsibilities and establish rules for activities such as the following: voting on the amount of chapter dues and assessments, preparing the chapter budget, reviewing, modifying, and adopting the budget by the chapter executive board and/or chapter membership, supervising expenditures, supervising investments, providing for an annual review of the accounts of the chapter, filing for the IRS 990 only in the US. The fiscal year of the society begins July 1st and ends June 30. Induction fees, scholarship fees, and dues are paid to the chapter treasurer. The international dues are as follows. Honorary members is US dollars 49.50, one-time fee. Active members pay US dollars 40. Reserve members pay US dollars 20. Collegiate members pay US dollars 20. Induction fee US dollars 10. Chapter keeps 7 US dollars with 50 cents, and the state organization keeps 2 US dollars 50 cents. The inducting unit of the society shall pay a lifetime fee for each honorary member at the time she becomes a member. Some state organizations and chapter collect a scholarship fee which stays with the assessing entity. Check your state organization or chapter bylaws and rules for the details. There is no fee for reinstatement or transfer of a member. Contact Society headquarters for assistance. Dues collection timeline, April 1st, dues collection portal opens for the upcoming membership year. Chapters begin sending dues to international and state organizations. Separate checks to each entity for respective portion. June 30, member dues collection deadline to chapter. Begin collecting in April, May, and June for the upcoming membership year. August 1st, automated notices are emailed to members whose dues have not been paid, with email address on file with Society headquarters. Email reminders will also be sent to all treasurers to remind them to reach out to members who have not paid dues. September 1st, second automated notices are emailed to members whose dues have not been paid. Email reminders will also be sent to all treasurers to remind them that members who have not paid dues will be dropped October 1st if dues are not received. October 1st, members whose dues have not been paid will be dropped. Fortunately, that was not our case because we took action before October 1st last year. Reinstated members pay dues and fees in accordance with the above schedule. Prorated dues after January 1st will not be an option for reinstated members who were listed as active members on the rosters at the beginning of the current dues collection period. This is very important for you to notice. Our chapters have begun working pretty much in accordance with these guidelines. We establish a budget at the state organization executive board, and there is always voting involved in order to carry on with the budget plan for the year or for an activity. State organization president and chapter presidents review the finance report, and there is a general report presented to members. At our state organization, we are in the process of working with a state organization bank account to keep funds. In order to do that, we need to update paperwork that we had, but law in Guatemala changed, so we need to update it in order to act as a nonprofit institution and be able to not pay taxes and have some interest from the bank account. Remember, you can find more information on the chapter guidelines on the DKG website. Once you log in, go to resources under chapter tools. In order to have healthy chapter guidelines, there are some in order to have a healthy chapter, there are some chapter guidelines. And several times I have come across this document presented in different ways. I have used different opportunities in our state organization to promote some reflection, especially when we are working on strategic planning. Some of the aspects that get mentioned and that we recognize in our small but alive state organization are the following. Here, and I mention also how we are working on them. Strong and positive leadership. Delegates leadership in the last years have been more teamwork. Attendance to meetings, most of the time 70%. Reminders to members sent through WhatsApp. Members actively working. Retired members actively involved. We usually think about what are they good at, and these are the tasks that are given to them. State organization reports completed on time. International committee liaisons follow up. State organization society membership information is currently. Always refer to information on the website and guidelines published. Knowledgeable of the society. We try to offer facts about the society during meetings. Engaged beyond the chapter. Members attend state and international events. We have tried to motivate other members to attend Latin American conferences, and different members are the ones attending the international events. So different groups attend different events. Newsletter or website informative. published, updated regularly, and contain society and chapter information. Programs reflect interest of members. We survey members before planning for the year and plan accordingly. Again, remember that you can find more information on the chapter guidelines on the DKG website, and there you will find these chapter guidelines. So as you can see, less members doesn't mean that your chapter will have to disappear. In fact, as I received the answer some years ago, as long as there is one member, there is DKG chapter. It also reminds me of a speech I prepared for an ISF visit I did in 2010 to Maine. I titled it Refresh, Reboot, and Rebirth. There is always possibility if you look for ideas. And as it is said, don't expect change if you keep doing the same things. Thank you for attending this session. I hope that you now have strategies that will help you in your chapter or state to deal with the challenges of leadership. You have the ability to make a difference. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Find my email and social network information on further slide. I'll be happy to answer. These are but some of the resources available to you. The international website is filled with resources. Please visit DKG website.